Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that could change your life, but only if you let it. Make yourself take action. You see, everybody has dreams, everybody has goals, but the truth is, those dreams don't mean a thing without action. You can pray all you want, meditate all you want, write vision boards until your hands go numb, but until you move your feet, your life ain't gonna move an inch. Success doesn't respond to intention, it responds to action. This truth is one of the most critical realizations a person can have when chasing their dreams. So many people have incredible ideas, powerful visions, and beautiful aspirations, but they never see the light of day simply because they remain trapped in the realm of intention. They talk about what they want to do, they journal it, visualize it, and tell others about their goals, but their feet never move. Success isn't sitting around waiting for someone to just think hard enough or dream big enough. It's waiting for someone bold enough to act, to push past comfort, to take that first uncertain step. Intention, while necessary, is only the seed. Action is the water, the sunlight, and the discipline that makes that seed grow. Without action, your vision stays locked in your head like an unused gift. A person can have the best idea in the world, one that could change lives. But if they don't execute it, someone with half the talent but double the courage and drive will win every time. The world doesn't pay people for what they're thinking about doing, it rewards those who do it. That's the difference between winners and dreamers. Winners make it happen. They fall, they fail, but they show up again. They execute, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect. You can read 1,000 books, watch all the motivational videos, attend all the seminars, but none of that matters if you don't eventually stand up and move. That dream of starting a business, going back to school, learning a new skill, or creating a new path, it's not going to build itself. You have to build it. No blueprint becomes a building without hands that hammer and dig. Some people get stuck in the trap of preparation. They say they're getting ready. They're studying, researching, waiting for the perfect moment. But what they're really doing is hiding. They're delaying the pain of possible failure, of facing the unknown. But growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from stretching. You learn more in a single day of doing than in a year of planning. Execution is the greatest teacher. And even when you fail, it's progress. Because now you've learned what doesn't work. You've strengthened your ability to endure. You've earned something no amount of thinking can give you. Experience. The world doesn't need more planners. It needs more doers. People who feel the fear and act anyway. People who dare to leap without all the answers. People who trust that clarity will come as they go. Taking action, it doesn't mean you have to make a grand move. It could be as small as sending that email, making that phone call, waking up an hour earlier, or writing one page. Small steps lead to big changes. The discipline of consistent action builds momentum. Momentum builds belief, and belief builds a new identity. One of a person who no longer just talks about it, but who is about it. Action changes how you see yourself. When you start to follow through, even in tiny ways, you gain respect for yourself. You stop being a spectator in your life and start being the author of it. Intentions are not enough because the world cannot see your thoughts. It can only see your results. The bridge between your ideas and your reality is action. Every person you admire, every success story you've heard, every achievement that inspires you, that all came from a moment of action. Someone took the risk. Someone moved forward. Someone stopped waiting. They weren't special. They weren't chosen. They just decided. They decided they wouldn't let fear stop them. They decided they wouldn't let doubt keep them stuck. They decided to do it. Scared, unsure, and unprepared. But they did it anyway. That decision is what sets them apart. That decision is what opens doors. That decision is what transforms a thought into a legacy. Discipline is doing what you need to do even when you don't feel like it. It's the quiet force behind every success story, the invisible engine that keeps things moving when motivation disappears. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you're fired up, ready to conquer the world, and the next day you can't even get out of bed. That's human nature. But discipline doesn't depend on your mood. Discipline shows up regardless. It is consistent. It is dependable. It is what carries you forward when inspiration runs dry. It's easy to take action when you're excited, but what really defines growth is what you do on the days when you're not feeling it. Those are the days that count the most because they test your commitment. Anyone can act when it's convenient. Discipline means you act when it's hard, when it's boring, when nobody's watching, and when the results aren't immediate. There's something powerful about becoming a person who honors commitments, especially the ones made to yourself. Most people are good at keeping promises to others, but they break the promises they make to themselves every single day. I'll start tomorrow, they say. I'll go to the gym next week. I'll write the book when I have more time. Those delays add up. They turn into years, and eventually they turn into regret. Discipline breaks that cycle. It forces you to get up, lace your shoes, sit down at a desk, or make the hard call, not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. Every time you follow through despite resistance, you strengthen your integrity. You start believing in yourself in a deeper way, not because of hype, but because you've seen yourself take action in hard moments. That's how self-respect is built, not from achievement, but from effort. Discipline also teaches you to master your emotions rather than be ruled by them. If you only work when you're happy, focused, and confident, then you'll never achieve anything lasting. Life will always throw distractions, pain, inconvenience, and fear in your path. You have to train yourself to work through those things. The athlete trains when they're sore. The writer writes when they're uninspired. The entrepreneur builds when they're broke. That's the grind. That's discipline. Doesn't mean you're perfect or robotic or emotionless. It means your actions are aligned with your goals, not your feelings. Most people let their feelings drive their decisions and then wonder why their life never changes. But people with discipline make decisions based on where they want to be, not where they are now. Building discipline is not about pushing yourself to extremes. It starts small. It could be getting up 10 minutes earlier. It could be setting a timer and focusing on one task. It could be saying no to something you know distracts you. Those small wins matter. They compound. They create a track record. Every disciplined choice you make is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. It's not just about accomplishing goals. It's about becoming someone who takes pride in how they live. That pride isn't loud and it doesn't need recognition. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're doing the work even if no one else sees it. And the truth is, success is built in private. It's forged in early mornings, late nights, quiet sacrifices, and unglamorous routines. It's not about dramatic effort once in a while. It's about consistent effort over time. That's what separates the average from the extraordinary. Not talent, not luck, but the discipline to do the hard things over and over again, long after the excitement fades. Fear will never disappear. You must move through it. This is one of the most essential truths for anyone who wants to grow, achieve, or evolve into something more. Far too many people wait for fear to go away before they act, thinking one day they'll suddenly feel brave enough, strong enough, or confident enough to do what they dream of doing. But that day doesn't come. Because fear is not something you eliminate, it's something you overcome by stepping forward despite its presence. Fear is a part of progress. It's the price of admission for anything worthwhile. The people you admire didn't do great things because they were fearless. They did them because they felt fear and took action anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's movement in the face of it. If you wait to feel perfectly ready, you'll wait your whole life. Fear shrinks only when you move through it. The first step is always the hardest because that's when fear speaks the loudest. It tells you that you're not good enough, that you'll embarrass yourself, that you'll fail and never recover. These voices don't reflect truth. They reflect your mind trying to protect you from discomfort. But growth only lives on the other side of that discomfort. Staying safe and comfortable might feel good in a moment, but it steers your future. Every time you let fear decide for you, you make your world smaller. You say no to opportunity. You say no to experiences that could shape you. You say no to life. Moving through fear doesn't mean being reckless. It means choosing progress over paralysis. It means being willing to be uncomfortable now so you can be proud later. The most successful people aren't fearless. They're just more committed to their purpose than to their comfort. Fear is tricky because it disguises itself as logic. It tells you to wait for the right time, to gather more information, to play it safe until the odds are perfect. But deep down, that's not logic. It's hesitation dressed up as wisdom. Real wisdom is knowing that nothing changes until you do. It's realizing that every dream comes with a moment where you must decide, do you move forward scared or stay still and safe? The moment you choose to move, even if your hands are shaky, something powerful happens. You start breaking fear's hold on you. You teach your mind that you are capable, that you don't need fear's permission to act. With every step forward, you gain experience, and that experience starts to chip away at your fear. The more you face fear, the less control it has. But that only happens through repetition. If you keep avoiding the things that scare you, they grow in your mind. The fear becomes larger than life, not because the thing itself is scary, but because your imagination has had too much time to inflate it. Action is the antidote to that. When you do the thing you're afraid of, you often realize it wasn't as bad as you thought. Maybe you stumble, maybe you get embarrassed, maybe you fail, but you survive. And once you survive it, fear loses its edge. You become stronger, not because the fear went away, but because you proved to yourself that you could handle it. This is where true confidence is born, not from talking yourself into belief, but from proving your strength through action. Everyone feels fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment. But not everyone allows fear to be the driver. You can feel fear and still speak. You can feel fear and still show up. You can feel fear and still create, build, lead, or begin. You don't need to be fearless to succeed. You just need to be brave enough to start. Because once you start, you discover that fear is loud but not strong. It screams from the sidelines. But it can't actually stop you unless you give it power. And the way to take away its power is to act in spite of it, to do the thing anyway, to keep moving forward until your actions become louder than your doubt. Waiting for the perfect time is the enemy of progress. It's one of the most common traps people fall into without even realizing it. We convince ourselves that we'll start tomorrow, next week, or when life slows down. We say we're waiting for the right moment, for everything to line up perfectly, for the stars to align and the conditions to feel just right. But the truth is that moment almost never comes. Life is never going to hand you the perfect scenario to chase your dream, build your business, write your book, change your lifestyle, or pursue your passion. There will always be something in the way, some obstacle, distraction, responsibility, or fear. The people who succeed are not the ones who wait for things to be easy. They're the ones who begin despite the mess, despite the chaos, despite the uncertainty. Progress happens when you start now with what you have where you are. The belief that you need more time, more resources, more clarity is a form of resistance. It's fear disguised as preparation. We think we're being smart by waiting, but often we're just avoiding the discomfort of starting. Starting means confronting your doubts. It means risking failure. It means leaving your comfort zone and stepping into the unknown. That's why it's hard, but it's also why it's necessary. You don't need all the answers to take the first step. You just need to take it. The next steps will become clear once you're in motion. Progress is a result of action, not perfection. People often overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They imagine transformation happening overnight, but real change is the result of steady, imperfect effort over time. If you keep waiting until everything feels ideal, you'll keep putting your dreams on hold. You'll watch others move forward while you remain stuck, not because you weren't capable, but because you kept believing the lie that now isn't the time. Time is never the issue. Focus is, commitment is, courage is. The people who move ahead in life are the ones who stop making excuses and start making moves, no matter how small. When you look at anyone who has built something meaningful, you'll find that they started in the middle of imperfection. They had bills to pay, children to raise, jobs to do, problems to solve, but they started anyway. They made space. They carved out time. They figured it out as they went along. They didn't let the reality of their circumstances become a prison. They understood that waiting wasn't going to make anything easier. It was only going to cost them more time. And time is the one thing we never get back. Every day you wait is a day you could have been growing, learning, building, and becoming. Waiting doesn't protect you. It robs you. There's a sense of empowerment that comes when you decide to stop waiting and start doing. Even if your first steps are shaky, even if you stumble, you're still making progress. You're still gaining experience. You're still learning what works and what doesn't. That momentum is more valuable than any perfect plan. Plans change. Life throws curveballs. What matters is the habit of execution. The ability to keep going despite imperfection. That ability is what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers wait. Doers move. Dreamers overthink. Doers adjust. Dreamers hope. Doers build. The difference is not talent or luck. It's decision. The decision to act now. To stop waiting for certainty. To stop waiting for permission. To stop waiting for things to get easier or for life to calm down. The decision to begin is where everything starts. Excuses are the lies we tell ourselves to feel better about not trying. They sound logical, reasonable, and even justified, but underneath every excuse is fear, doubt, or a lack of belief. When people say they don't have time, what they often mean is not a priority. When they say they're too tired, they often mean they're unmotivated. When they say they'll start tomorrow, they're avoiding the discomfort of starting today. Excuses are comforting. They give us something to blame. They help us escape the responsibility of effort, but they also steal our power. Every time you make an excuse, you trade progress for relief. That short-term relief might feel good in the moment, but it leads to long-term regret because deep down we know when we've let ourselves off the hook. We know when we've allowed fear or laziness to talk us out of action, and that awareness eats away at our confidence. The truth is, the more you rely on excuses, the more you disconnect from your potential. Your mind becomes trained to find reasons not to try. You get good at avoidance instead of getting good at execution. You start believing your own stories. You start seeing obstacles that aren't even there, and over time, excuses become a habit. They become your automatic response to anything that feels hard, risky, or unfamiliar. But progress doesn't come from comfort. It comes from challenge, from showing up when it's hard, from pushing past the urge to quit. If you want to grow, you have to call out your excuse for what they are, mental roadblocks, not real ones. You have to be honest with yourself about what's stopping you. Most of the time, it's not your situation. It's your mindset. You can't build a meaningful life on a foundation of excuses. Every excuse chips away at the structure of your goals. Every time you choose the easy route, you delay the results you say you want. Success demands accountability. It demands that you take ownership of your choices, your habits, and your effort. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. Honest about how you use your time. Honest about whether you're giving your best. Honest about the gap between what you want and what you're doing to get it. That honesty is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your own patterns. But it's also freeing, because once you own your reality, you can change it. You're no longer waiting for conditions to improve or blaming circumstances. You're putting yourself back in control. Excuses can sound like protection, but they're really limitation. They protect your ego, not your future. They help you feel safe, but they keep you stuck. You ain't born to stay stuck. You ain't made to live under the weight of what ifs and maybes. You were given a mind, a will, and the power of choice. That means you can choose differently. You can choose to act even when it's inconvenient. You can choose discipline over delay, courage over comfort, and purpose over procrastination. The more you do, the more your brain learns that action is possible, that fear is not final, that excuses don't have to define you. You start to shift from helpless to hopeful, from stuck to moving, from doubtful to determined. There is no perfect moment to begin. There is only now. And if you're honest, you'll see that most of what you think is stopping you is actually within your control. You don't need ideal circumstances. You need a decision to stop giving your power away, a decision to stop believing a voice that says, not yet, not good enough, not ready. That voice is not truth, it's a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken, but it won't be broken by waiting. It'll be broken by action, by doing the thing you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's when it matters most. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You just need to begin. One of the biggest myths that holds people back is the idea that you need a flawless plan, absolute clarity, or perfect timing before you take the first step. This mindset creates hesitation, delays, and eventually paralysis. The truth is, clarity comes through movement, not before it. You learn by doing. You grow through experience. You discover what works by trying, adjusting, failing, and trying again. Waiting until you have every answer is just another form of fear pretending to be wisdom. Nobody who achieved anything great had everything figured out at the start. They simply had the courage to begin, even in uncertainty, even in confusion, even when the path wasn't clear. Starting without knowing everything is not a weakness. It's a necessity. The world moves fast, and it rewards the ones who are bold enough to take action, to learn on the go, and to course correct along the way. The idea of needing to be fully prepared is a safety net we use to delay action. It gives us an excuse to stay comfortable, to keep researching, to keep planning endlessly. But progress doesn't live in the planning phase. Progress happens when you step into the unknown, when you try something and get it wrong, when you stretch yourself beyond what you think you're ready for. You build confidence not from knowing the outcome, but from proving to yourself that you can handle the unknown. People often say they'll begin once they feel more confident, but confidence is the result of action, not the prerequisite. Every small win, every task completed, every challenge faced adds a layer to your confidence. You don't need to be sure of the final destination. You only need to be sure of the next right step. That one action can open a door you didn't know existed. That one risk can introduce you to an opportunity you never saw coming. That one moment of courage can completely shift your direction, but you'll never discover those possibilities if you stay stuck in planning mode. You can't think your way into transformation. You have to act your way into it. The idea of having it all figured out is also rooted in perfectionism, which kills progress. Perfectionism says if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. But reality says nothing is ever perfect, especially not the first time. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story had a messy, uncertain start. They stumbled, made mistakes, faced rejection, but they kept going. That's what separates people who grow from those who remain stagnant. It's not their knowledge or preparation. It's their willingness to start with what they had and learn the rest on the way. It's their belief that forward motion is more important than flawless execution. There's a power that comes from simply starting. The moment you move, even in a small way, your energy shifts, your mindset shifts. You start building momentum. That momentum creates motivation. And motivation keeps the cycle going, but it all starts with that decision to act before you're ready. To trust yourself, not because you have every answer, but because you're willing to find them. Starting before you're ready trains you to become resourceful, resilient, and adaptable. You stop relying on the illusion of certainty and start relying on your ability to respond, to learn, to grow. That's where real strength is built. In the process, not in the preparation. The sooner you begin, the sooner you discover what you're capable of, and the more space you give for purpose and progress to take root. The beginning is never perfect, but is always powerful, because it's the moment you take back your future from fear and hesitation and place it in the hands of action and faith